Hello everyone. In this video I'll show you how to use the animated architecture sketch Photoshop action. With this Photoshop action you can create realistic technical sketches and also you can animate your static images. Moreover, this package contains 3 premium mockup templates which you can use to take your final presentation to a whole new level. But before getting started, let's view a few examples. With this Photoshop action, you just need to open this main image and mark your subject area and then just run the action and you'll get something like this. So the final elements and the layers and groups that are generated has lots of customization option and we'll visit them when we'll run the action and go in details. So you can also turn your image into a blueprint effect, just a click of a single button. We'll show in details when we run the action. Next, this action creates a clean pencil sketch which has great clarity without any artifacts or jagged edges. You can use this effect to create a template for your sketch drawing. And finally, the action also creates an animated effect of the static image. So here you can see the animated effect of the image that I showed you earlier. Let's view a few more examples. This one is one of the mockup templates which comes bundled in this package. So all these elements, these pen and pencils, are individual objects. You can change them, manipulate them without losing any quality. This is the second mockup template and this is the third mockup template. Here are a few more examples. This is the subject area, the area of focus, which I want to turn into this architecture sketch effect. Here's the blueprint effect. Here's the clean sketch effect. And here's the animated effect. Here's another example. Subject area. So let's get started. We'll be using this image. So I'm just dragging the image into my Photoshop. And I need to take care of a few things before getting started. And these are, go to image, more, and make sure RGB color and 8 bits per channel is checked. Next, click this flyout menu and select panel options. Make sure add copy to copy layers and groups. And also use default masks on fill layers are checked. Next, regarding image size, this Photoshop action works great with high resolution images. Images ranging from 2000 pixels to 5000 pixels work really great. And now let's load up our action. So you need to bring up your action panel, and to do that go to Window, Actions, and here is your action panel. Now to load up the files, there are 3 files: the action, the brush, and the pattern file. To do that, just go to File, Open, and navigate to the main download package. There you will find these 3 files: the animated architecture sketch brushes.apr file, the pattern.pat file, and the action.atn file. Select all 3 of them together and click Open. So now you can see all of them are loaded. So here is the architecture sketch action file loaded into the actions panel. If you go to your brush tool, you will see that the animated architecture sketch brushes have been loaded. And then if you go to your patterns by going through the preset manager, you can see that the pattern files has also been loaded. Okay, now one most important thing you need to take care is that the brush opacity and the flow must be 100%. So if they are not, crank them up to 100%. The opacity and the flow must be 100%, and your mode should be normal. These three things must be set like this for the action to work properly. Now let's mark our main subject area. Just create a new layer and paint over this. You can use the default brush which comes here, the last brush, and take any color and then mark your main subject area. One thing I would like to mention is that this action is one of the action from my newer action series, and these actions work with any language of Photoshop, not just English. It can be any language and this action will work just fine. And also these actions take a more hassle-free approach, so you don't need to rename the layers. Like it need not to be something like brush, subject, or background. Needs to be anything like image or anything. You do not need to change the layer name, so you can just create a new layer and just paint and then get started. So I'll just quickly mark the main subject. And once they're done, I can run the action. So open the action panel and select the action according to your Photoshop version. So what I'm using is 2009, CC 2009, so I'll be using this one and I'll run the action. Make sure you run this action, others are utility action, and second one, the animated effect will only work after you run the main effect. So I'll select this main action for CC 2019 and I'll hit play. It will take some time for the action to finish processing. We'll fast forward from here and get back when it's done. Well, the action has finished processing and here's the confirmation message. So here you can see that it says that the static action has finished processing. Now you can adjust individual elements and run the animated action. But make sure you follow these important points. These are: do not rename any layer or group, do not duplicate or delete any layer or group, or do not move or change in layer order or group order. So these are essential if you want to run the animated effect, otherwise it may not work properly. You can change the opacity or paint on the layer masks or adjust color tones for the main static image if you want to run the animated effect. But you must follow these 3 points which I mentioned here. So I'll just hit continue over here. And before going into details with all the elements and groups which are generated over here, I'll just run this action quickly on another image to show you how it turns out. So I just dropped my main image and I'll just create a new layer and mark the main subject area with any color. You need not to be perfect with the edges, so it gives a good effect if it's like brushed at a random, like trying to cover it. Not so precisely, gives a more organic hand-drawn look. With that done, I'll just select the action and hit play. We'll again fast forward from here and get back when the action has finished rendering. So it's also finished rendering. As you can see, it's fairly simple to run this action, and one thing you just need to notice before you run the action is just keep the opacity in the flow to 100% of this brush tool and also keep the mode to normal. Okay, now let's go over this different layers, but before that I'll just show you what this part does. So this is an extra utility which I've provided to randomize the color effects. So it may happen that you do not like the color effect which is generated by this default rendering of the action. So what you can do is you can simply select this extra randomized color elements action and hit play, and you'll see that it will create random color effects. You can keep clicking it and it will generate color effects at random, so you can experiment and get the best out of it. Okay, now let's see what we have over here. So at the very bottom we have our background elements, where we have the background base color, and it's a background sepia color, like if you want to give it a sepia kind of tone. And we have two paper texture 1 and paper texture 2. Next we have default toning, so it's better kept as it is. I'll show you. It needs to be turned off if you want to enable this blueprint effect. So I'll just show you how you can turn the blueprint effect on. Just toggle this visibility icon, and it doesn't look good with the color elements, so you just need to turn them off. And also it's better if you turn the default toning off, and you can get a very clean blueprint effect. You can move and change these additional elements. I'll show you in a moment. Okay, so now here we have the paint on layer mask with white to reveal original detail. So you can select this layer mask, select the brush. You can take any of the brushes from here. I'll take this watercolor brush, and you can paint here. As you can see, it's revealing the original color. Next we have our color elements. So here we have the core color elements, and what this does is you can paint on the layer mask again with white to reveal parts of this color, but also you can turn the layers off and on to create unique color effects. So these are isolated regions, like it has shadow regions, midtones, and also highlights, so you can customize the way you want it to look. You can turn the midtones on, the shadows off, or just the shadows on, the highlights off, just like that. You need to experiment and find out what suits you best. Then we have the color wash. You can again paint on the layer mask with white to reveal parts of the original image. And here we have the additional color elements. So here are color droplets, white droplets, black spray, white spray, and color hatching. Now if you want to create a clean black and white sketch effect, you just need to hide this color effects, and also you can disable this default toning, and you need to disable this paper texture, and you can see that it's giving a clean pen sketch on paper effect. Next we have here additional lines. Before that, we'll go to the sketch elements. So here we have normal sketch. We have normal sketch more. It intensifies the normal sketch effect. Then we have the bold sketch. We have bold sketch shadows only. So what this will do is it will just intensify the lines on the shadow region. Then we have extra bold sketch. Again, extra bold sketch shadows only. We have midtones hatching, shadows hatching more. You can see the effect. We have white hatching here on the highlights region, and we have white hatching more. You can also paint on the layer mask with black to hide parts of this hatching if you want. Then we have additional line elements. Here we have the horizontal perspective lines. We have vertical perspective lines. Then we have random perspective lines 2, guided perspective lines. They follow along the tangent of this periphery of these lines. Then we have guided creeps. We have background creep. A small creep like painted creep like pattern runs all over the image. And then we have this margin line here. Next we have this script elements. You can pretty much do anything you want. You can duplicate them, move them around, rotate and resize them. So here are 10 scripts layers which you can play around. Then we have 15 color effects. You can simply show them by toggling this visibility icon and apply the effect. Next we have overall adjustments. Here we have overall brightness and contrast, overall levels, overall curves, overall black and white, overall invert. You can couple it with the black and white. overall hue saturation, overall gradient map. You can change the gradient map. Overall gradient fill, you can change pretty much anything over here, and overall color fill. So next, before running to the animated action, I'll show you how you can use the mockup templates. Simply you need to save this anywhere you want, and then navigate to the main folder and open any one of the mockups. So here you will see one PSD file and one background. So the background has been given separately to reduce the size of this PSD. So just double click on this and the mockup template will open up. Here you can change the background. I'll just change the background quickly. Just drop this one here. These are smart objects, so they are edited as a smart objects, and once I save this and close this, it will reflect here in my main image. And now to change and place my main image over here, I'll just double click on this image one, and you can see that's opening in a new layer. I'll take my image, the one that I want to place over here. Let's place this one, and I'll fill it with my image and save and close it, and it will just reflect on my mockup template. So now you can play around with these elements. These are smart objects, so you can resize, rotate, duplicate. You can do pretty much anything that you want with them, and this goes same with all the 3 mockup templates which are there. Okay, now let's run the animated effect. So as mentioned earlier, make sure you do not rename, reorder, or delete any layers and groups from here. And before running this animated effect, just enable your timeline. So here's my timeline, and select the animated effect and hit play. So it's finished processing, and let's run our animation and see how it looks. So make sure you click this settings icon and select this loop playback, and then select play. It will take some time to buffer the animation. And here it is. You can export it out as a GIF. I'll show you the settings that I find best, that retains the image quality and also takes a lower size on the disk. But before that, I'll just reduce the size because I do not need a GIF image that big, and it will also take a lot of space. So let's reduce the size maybe to 800 pixels of width. And now I'll go to File, Export, Save for Web. From here I'll select GIF. I'll keep it adaptive and noise. And then I'll just make sure the transparency is marked, so it creates an image with a smaller footprint. And if you see that your image does not have that much color, you can also turn these colors down to reduce the image size. But I'll just keep it to 256 colors here, and make sure looping animation is forever, and then hit save. So I'll save it here as one GIF. And let's see how it looks. So here it is. So that's pretty much all for this animated architecture sketch and blueprint Photoshop action. Hope you like this effect. See you soon.